The Atlanta Braves are taking on the Washington Nationals for 3 starting tonight in Truist Park. Here's your 10-minute scouting report for today's game. This is your Braves Today Scouting Report, a production of the Believe Podcast Network and presented to you by FanDuel. I'm Lindsey Crosby. In the next 10 minutes, we're breaking down everything you need to know before first pitch. Today, it's the Braves and the Nationals in the series opener, so let's get into it. Both teams have put out their lineups. For the Braves, Ronald Acuna Jr., who left last night's game with that thumb issue, is in the lineup, leading off and playing right field. Because the Nationals have a lefty as an opener today, we'll get to that in a second, Mauricio Dubon is playing in left field and is batting second in the order. You then have Matt Olson batting third at first base. Ozzie Albies, the switch hitter, cleaning up at second base. Michael Harris II batting fifth in center field. Austin Riley at third base batting sixth. This is the flip-flop back and forth lefty-righty thing. You've got Dom Smith, another lefty, batting seventh at DH. Ha-Sung Kim at shortstop batting eighth. And catcher Sandy Leone, a switch hitter, batting ninth. So again, Acuna, Dubon, Olson, Albies, Harris, Riley, Smith, Kim, and Leone. On the mound for the Braves, Bryce Elder. Big Texas today. 4-2, 2.01 ERA, 3.20 expected ERA, 3.20 fielded independent pitching, but still has been very good. Strikeout rate 22.5%, walk rate 8%. So walk rate is below league average. So the difference there, the strikeout to walk percentage is 14.5%. The thing here I'm curious about with Bryce Elder, he finally, for the first time this year, threw that cutter to some righties. He threw 3 of them to Boston. 2 of them were to Caleb Durbin. 1 of them was to Ceddanne Rafaela. Durbin took both of his for balls. Rafaela hit a double on a middle cutter. So I'm curious to see, does Elder keep doing that or not? There are a couple Nationals who have been pretty decent against Elder. 14 at-bats for Luis Garcia, who I'm getting to in a second, batting .357. CJ Abrams, 16 at-bats, batting .375. Dalen Lyle only has 5 at-bats, but he has 3 hits, including a home run and 2 RBI. James Wood, 9 at-bats, only 2 hits, but he also has a home run. So kind of fun to watch and see what happens there. For the Nationals, they've got James Wood leading off at DH, followed by Luis Garcia Jr. batting second, so back-to-back lefties, and then they start flip-flopping there with Curtis Mead at third base as a right-hander. CJ Abrams cleaning up at shortstop, followed by Dylan Cruz batting fifth, Dalen Lyle batting sixth, Jacob Young batting seventh in center field, Drew Millis behind the plate, and Nasim Nunez at second base batting ninth. It's going to be a very interesting kind of setup here. This is not a good defensive roster. Like these guys are just not very good defensively, especially Mead and Abrams and Millis. So curious to see what happens there. Young in center field is fantastic. He's a great defensive center fielder, but really curious about what this looks like here, simply because they have not been good defensively in the corners. The starting pitcher for the Nationals is not the same guy you're going to see for most of the game. They have lefty Richard Lovelady opening the game, but then behind him, the bolt guy is Miles Mikolas. And he has not been good, to say it politely, this year. 6.91 ERA, 1-3 record. Now, the ERA estimators are a little bit kinder to him, but literally just a little bit. 5.34 expected ERA, 6.20 fielded independent pitching. On his StatCast card, the only thing that he is not terrible at, I mean, it's a lot of blue and darker blue. The only thing he's not terrible at is walks. 7.5% walk rate is below average. Like, I'm sorry, it's for a pitcher, that's an above average figure. He's good at not walking guys. 68th percentile. And his ground ball rate is 51.4%, which is 82nd percentile for all pitchers in baseball, not just starters. That's one of the better marks for a starter. But everything else, he is brutal. He has not been good in just about any regard. So either Atlanta is going to obliterate him or they're going to struggle and he's going to throw 6 scoreless, and there's no middle ground here. The way that he likes to attack hitters, it is a fastball dominant mix. The thing to know about the slider is it doesn't have the usual slider drop, and it really functions more like a cutter. Being completely honest, really kind of functions as a cutter more so than a traditional slider. That's how he's throwing it 87 miles an hour, but not getting the same results. So when you look at what he does against lefties, 4-seam slider are his 2 most used pitches. It's in essence 2 variations of a fastball. He does, instead of a traditional slider, he does have a sweeper. He does throw a curveball as well and a changeup, but you'll rarely see the sweeper here against lefties because Mikolas is a righty. The utilization here, he increases his changeup usage when he's ahead, and he ramps up the sinker use when he's behind, and that comes at the expense of the curveball. Doesn't really have any significant 2-strike tendencies. What he does early in the count, for the most part, is what he does with 2 strikes. Little interesting kind of thing there. Against righties, even more of a fastball dominant mix because it's a sinker and a 4-seam. And then after that, it's that cutterish slider. So it's even more fastball oriented against righties. He does ramp up that sweeper usage when he's ahead at the expense of the sinker. He does significantly cut the sweeper usage to virtually nothing and the curveball usage to virtually nothing when he's behind, to throw more of that sinker and more of that cutterish slider. And then when he gets 2 strikes, he goes back to the sweeper at the expense of the slider and the sinker. So a little more predictable here, little bit more tendencies you can go off of based on the count. Does have a pretty strong proclivity to throw a first pitch strike to both righties and lefties. So something for the Braves to watch out for there. Also, the Braves have had a lot of success against him. The one exception is Ronald Acuna Jr. Ronald, 20 career at-bats. He's hitting 200 with a 400 OPS off of Mikolas. For everybody else, Ozzie Albies has a homer. Matt Olson has 2 homers and a 1.67 OPS. Austin Riley has a homer. Michael Harris has a 1,000 OPS. And even Mike Yastrzemski, who's not in the lineup, has a 788 OPS and a couple RBI off of Mikolas. So there's a lot of good experience off of the guy in Atlanta's roster and lineup today. When you look at the bullpen status here, Atlanta's bullpen's really kind of fresh, right? When you look at this, you've got Raisel Iglesias hasn't pitched in 3 days. Your longmen, Ronaldo Lopez and Carlos Carrasco, they've not pitched in 5 days. Didier Fuentes had a back-to-back. He's gotten 2 days of rest since then. So a lot of your guys are incredibly rested. And the guys you did use yesterday, Dylan Lee threw 7 pitches. Robert Suarez threw 11. Dylan Dodd threw 13. All of those guys can come back today with those pitch counts. You literally don't have anybody down today, which for game 10 of 13 games in 13 days, that is a very, very good place to be. When you look at the Nationals bullpen, it's a little bit rougher because they've had a lot of guys pitch extended innings. Orlando Ribalta threw 24 pitches last night. He's probably available. He's a middle reliever for them. He's probably available to come back if they need him to. Clayton Beater is probably not, though. He's one of their leverage arms, but they activated him off the IL for yesterday's game and then threw him 20 pitches. I don't know for a fact, it's speculation, but I would guess that given that he just got off the IL, they're probably going to hold off on a back-to-back. Andrew Alvarez, lefty long man, he threw 56 pitches on Wednesday. He should be down as well. And the thing with using Lovelady as an opener is that means the only, like, I'm a little confused as to why you would do that in the first place. Simply because, like I said, you're gonna have lefties that are down today. I really can't see them using Andrew Alvarez, meaning Mitchell Parker is your only lefty left in the pen after Lovelady is done. So it's an odd decision to go with this. I honestly don't think it's going to matter. I think Atlanta's going to probably take this one anyway. Braves Today sponsor FanDuel has that. Braves Today sponsor FanDuel has this as Braves favored by 1.5. They have it as a higher scoring game. These are the two best scoring offenses in baseball. Although Atlanta's pitching staff, knock on wood, has been much better at containing opposing hitters than Washington's has. A couple other things to look at. Michael is top 10 in MLB for most homers allowed with 11. Can Atlanta get to him? CJ Abrams has been bad defensively, just overall, but he's been especially bad against Atlanta. He's from the Atlanta area. So it's entirely possible there is some sort of mental component to this. Does he get kind of yipped up when he faces the Braves? He's back at home. He's seeing his childhood team. Is it possible that kind of messes with him a little bit? Curious about that. The other thing that I'm curious about is the weather. There is supposed to be thunderstorms in the 7 o'clock hour in Atlanta, in the 8 o'clock hour, and in around the ballpark. So is this something where this game gets pushed back or doesn't happen at all? You have to remember, any sort of divisional matchup, it is easier for MLB and the teams to just call it and reschedule it to the next time these two teams play each other. So given that this is the first game of the series, you have the rest of this series, and then I believe you have 2 more series at some point in time this year with them, either 1 or 2, I can't remember which one. You've got opportunities. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if they just delay this. We'll see if they try to start it and then stop partway through. Maybe that's why the Nationals are going with the opener in front of Mikolas, in case the game gets stopped by rain after 1 inning. They haven't burnt their starter yet. We'll see what happens. That'll do it for your Braves Today scouting report. If you want the deeper analysis, the lineup breakdowns, everything behind the numbers, make sure you subscribe to Braves Today. Enjoy the game. We'll be back after it with the postcast over on Locked On Sports Atlanta if the game happens, and the game recap. Call today's 3 things over at bravestoday.com.